Okay, let's begin part 2 of the Banggood Chinese radio assembly. And I have a correction to make. In video number 1 I said that this was, I think, $15. It's actually available for about $7. Free shipping. It's subsidized by the Chinese government. So all you're really paying for is the manufacturing costs. And expect to wait anywhere between 3 weeks and 8 weeks at the outset, but I think I got this one in about 4 weeks. Alright, so I'm going to get started here with the capacitors, and there are plenty of them, so got a lot of work to do. Won't have to use the transistor tester anymore, I don't think, but yeah, let's see. Let's test one of these capacitors just to see. This one's labeled 104. It says 54 nanofarads. So I'll take the word for it. There are plenty of them. Hopefully my camera won't shut off due to overheating. I've opened up the window for this video. Okay. Again, this video is to help practice my soldering. I don't have much of a use for this radio, but it would be nice if it worked at the end. It would help me debug, help my debugging abilities if there are problems. I already did switch one of the resistors. That's acceptable, I guess. Once I'm done, I probably will probe the entire board for shorted pins. It happens, sometimes solder blobs get connected with very small bits of solder you can hardly even see without a magnifying glass, which I do have, fortunately. So this is a key part of my arsenal. Alright, let's just power through this. We got a 104 here. So one of the things that annoyed me about electronics is the equations. We're always so picky about when the rubber hits the road, there are wide allowances for things like voltage and current. So I tended to get hung up a lot on the differential equations and stuff like that. And I just wasn't ready for all that when I was 19. Computer programmers don't use any of that kind of math. I mean, if we have the college degree that goes with computer engineering, we are supposed to have all that knowledge, but computer programming largely is just, high school algebra. There are a few things that, you take from college level math into programming, but not a whole lot, and really those things you can just memorize or look them up on Google. For example, when you write an algorithm that iterates on, some number of items, you want to make sure that your algorithm doesn't increase in speed by the square or the cube of the number of items. And that's called, big O notation. Basically, there are a bunch of different notations, and big O is the only one that I remember and care about. But there's little O notation and a bunch of other things you learn. And those are the type of things that I'd already been programming for a number of years when I was in school, and thought to myself, okay, big O, yeah, that makes sense, but all these other things, you'll never use them. I mean, it's good to just be aware of them, but yeah, so many things basically a programmer is required to learn in school to be a computer engineer or computer scientist. You wind up never using it, and pretty much nobody who does programming ever winds up using that stuff. And furthermore, nowadays you can look up much of that stuff on Google. So if you are worried about an algorithm, it's probably not wise to try to remember what you learned in college. You want to make sure that you fully abreast of what it is, and you do the research on Google before you go forward. So I'm not saying that it's not useful to learn algorithms. Definitely is, but shouldn't get hung up on it. If you're maintaining code that somebody else wrote, you got to use his algorithms or her algorithms. So there's a whole lot of maintenance in programming, and they don't really teach you that in school. They teach you how to write new stuff, but they don't teach you how to fix other people's mistakes. And that really is a large part of what software is nowadays. It's working on other people's code, and hopefully they write simple, easy to understand code, because if you're always looking at super complex stuff that uses every trick in the book from college, then you're going to wind up you're never going to make any progress, and everybody's going to have super complex code that's needlessly complex. One of the things to remember is that no one's impressed by how much you know. People are impressed by how well you do your job and how well you write software. And if you write software that is so easy to understand, then people really appreciate that. So simplicity is so key when you're writing software. Just be simple. You don't have to optimize everything to the hilt. There's just no point. Use the simplest, clearest design possible. And if there's a slow part of your software, that's where you go and optimize. But you don't optimize or use the most optimal routines for no reason, because that's a waste of time. So I had all those things in mind when I was in school, learning these what I consider to be useless, almost trivia, highly mathematical things, and ultimately programming is mathematics, but it's informal mathematics, I guess you might say. And it's the same damn mathematics over and over as well. So you get really good at certain things, looping and branching. And I wish programming were more designed, but ultimately a lot of it's just taking other people's designs, And if they made a mistake, you can't afford to rewrite everything they did, so you have to some degree, accept their mistake and roll with it. Make the best of it as a programmer. So you can't always be working with the most ideal situation. And they don't really teach that kind of stuff in school. They don't really teach how to maintain software that's not ideal, which is all software really. They teach how to design new software. And unfortunately, you often have to use software that wasn't designed by people who were really paying attention in those classes anyways. So, So I didn't do the greatest in my programming courses even. I mean, I talk about my electrical engineering course that did terrible in those, but programming courses weren't so great. I really did well in my software engineering course because that was the closest course I took in school that was to real life, and I'd already had the real life experience, of writing software. So there you go. You know what? I'm going to put down that 100 microfarad. These capacitors are polarized. I'm sure you've heard this a million times if you are watching my video. The negative is this colored inside, and the positive is along this leg, so you can use either as your guide to installing capacitors. And I was saying earlier that, color coding isn't used nowadays, and you can see it right here being used in resistors, but, nowadays consumer-grade electronics, not hobbyist stuff that's in kits, to save money they just do a super integrated surface mount board, so you don't really even have, this sort of scheme either. Everything's just pressed down to the board and it's super, super small. So it's a different world now. They don't do anything by hand. It's all designed on a computer, and its components are just placed by machine, and it's very software has become the same way, I suppose. But it is fun doing this. It's enjoyable, and I'm learning a lot. When I was younger, kits like this would cost a lot of money, but somehow they're able to tool up their machinery and make this kit for under $7. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the Chinese government subsidizes their shipping, of course, but you can actually get a rush shipped kit like this ordered, but I wouldn't recommend that. You spend more than double the price on shipping. So that's how it goes, and I'm using this, I think, for the best purpose possible, just to learn how to put a kit together. This will be my first of 3 videos, my easiest one. My hardest one will actually has vacuum tubes, so I'm looking forward to that. They didn't teach us anything about vacuum tubes in school, of course, and I'm fine with that. That would have been a waste of my time, but at that time it would have been. But it's good to know now, just sort of as a hobbyist, and we still use vacuum tubes for really good sounding guitar. You need to have a vacuum tube amp, and what it boils down to is, vacuum tubes aren't modern components like this, like transistors and things like that, but they actually introduce a distortion in the signal, and it's a distortion that's pleasant to the ears. So that's what we like to hear. We like to hear something that's not truly what was created. The idea of a perfect amplifier is you just make the signal louder. That's it. The signal is the same, coming in and going out. But the idea with a vacuum tube is that the vacuum tube changes the signal and makes it sound more pleasant in the process of amplifying it. And we have different programmers like me have written programs to simulate the Okay, so I was rudely interrupted by the phone overheating, but I've put it into airplane mode, and hopefully that will fix things. Apps are always trying to send stuff home and taxing the processor and basically causing the phone to get too warm, but I think turning on airplane mode will hopefully fix the problem and prevent this from happening. Okay, let's resume. Yeah, as I was saying, there are programmers like me, not me personally, that do digital signal processing. And what that does is it introduces distortion that's pleasant to the ear. So, yeah, so you can say the next time you hear a song on the radio, I really enjoy the distortion on that signal, and I wonder if they're doing it through a tube amplifier or a digital signal processor, and then your friends will probably look at you a little funny. But that's what it amounts to. I actually enjoy the sound of distorted vocals. It can make for a very good rock and roll type sound to a vocalist. When you have vocals that are just too pure, it kind of sounds like choir to me. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what type of distortion vocals are subject to. Probably the same type of distortion, tube amplifier type distortion that a guitar goes through, but that's not my area of expertise, so I don't really know. And I'm talking about rock and roll, not gospel or something like that. All right, another 104. Holes on this border space so closely together that I actually have to open up holes that I inadvertently closed when putting in other components. That's okay though. I feel like I'm getting better at soldering by the minute here. It really helps to be working on something real in order to develop a skill. That's why one reason why I don't like college courses that much, because you're not really ever developing anything real. It's just a contrived example. Best way to learn programming is to do it, You don't need to learn 10 million data structures or methods or any of that. If you start reading code that's written by a skilled programmer, you'll learn so much so quickly, and that's just the way it is. Not that I don't take college experience into account, I really do, but it only counts for so much. Microsoft, I don't know if they still do this, but they tend, or historically anyway, they tended to hire programmers directly out of high school, and as much as I dislike Microsoft, that's not such a bad idea, really. Many of the things you learn in school are just completely not useful, and if Microsoft does a good job with these high school students, they can teach you the things that you do need. For example, efficiency, algorithm, cost, those types of things. But I mean, I'm glad I went to school. I had access to computer labs. This was before the internet was so amazing. With Amazon, with Amazon you have access to just gobs of compute power if you need it as a programmer for cheap. And that's what the computer labs at my university were like for me. It was gobs of computing power at my disposal, and I tried to figure out ways to use it. I really learned everything I learned in school that I value in those computer labs. And here and there I would learn something valuable in class. We actually implemented a pipeline risk processor, and that class I value a lot. It was all in software, and one reason why I value that is because emulators are so big nowadays. Everybody wants to do retro gaming. I sure as heck do. I don't really like games nowadays. I was sort of alluding to that in another video. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a great game, open world, but a lot of games are just, you have to learn so much, and then it doesn't transfer to other games, so you have to learn a set of controls and just an entire universe, and then after a year or two, it's useless. Whereas with retro games, you can sit in front of them and immediately figure out how to play the game, and you can have fun for forever, really. With Pac-Man, that's a lifetime of fun. Anybody can sit in front of a Pac-Man and game and just have a good time no matter what. So I'm looking for P32s. I really like the idea that these are labeled. Let's see. That says 62. Set that aside. 683. There's one. Alright, well, the camera's not overheating yet, so that's good. I did open up a window. Probably just Facebook phoning home. My Android phone is quite customized. I have over 200 apps on there, and I have the apps highly tweaked to turn off all notifications. The only notification that I get is phone calls, and I have my ringer on mute right now, which is nice. I feel like notifications are not that useful. I don't really care about breaking news. It's just not that important to me. I don't really watch television. I deliberately do not watch television. I like to watch YouTube videos like this where people are putting together stuff and explaining how their minds are working and what they're thinking. I really like that type of entertainment. What would be fun, maybe, is watching television writers, their thought process, that kind of thing, rather than the television show itself. Just find television just to be terrible. It's just gotten so much worse. There's a television show that was people watching funny YouTube videos and commenting. I mean, that's... Just watch the YouTube videos yourself. Why do you have to watch other people watch YouTube videos? It just seems really, what's the point? It's lazy or something, I don't know. You shouldn't really have other people tell you what YouTube videos to watch. Figure it out for yourself. Yeah, I like a definite mix of YouTube videos. I like gameplay videos a lot. It's fun for me to watch other people play video games sometimes. I guess that's similar to watching other people watch YouTube videos maybe, but being a programmer, it's fun to watch other people use software and how they use it. I really enjoy watching people do video game exploits. I find that very funny because that sort of, they get kicked off games for that stuff, and But that's sort of what we do as programmers. We write our software and we try to figure out ways to exploit it and make it not work anymore so we can make ultimately the software work correctly. So when you watch GTA 5, exploit video, for me, it's very entertaining because that's the type of things that programmers try to do to their software to make sure that other people aren't able to do it themselves. You don't want other people to exploit flaws in your software. But yep, I find it very funny to watch those types of videos. In some sense, it's the programmer's fault that there are bugs in his software. And I'm not talking about a bank software where you're making withdrawals. I'm talking about a game. If you release a game with bugs in it that allow people to make free money, then I don't have much sympathy for you. Just do a better job programming. Hire more programmers. These games, Grand Theft Auto 5 made so much money, and they actually do outsource some of their development effort to India and things like that. So maybe if they did more of their development in Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, United States, Canada, they would have fewer problems. I'm not saying that that's a definite, but it's one possibility. When you cut corners with programming, then you're going to get people taking advantage of your bugs. So I'm not much in favor of outsourcing programming efforts. I think it's penny wise and pound foolish. American and Western European, etc., Australia, New Zealand programmers, we have generations of programming knowledge and huge investments in learning and experience, and outsourcing programming to an inexpensive team in some country that's only been doing programming for under a generation or even 10 years or something like that just doesn't seem wise. Companies who try to save a little bit of money in the short term, they tend to not stay in business very long. They do okay in the short term, but then what's the long-term plan if you fire your programming team and you depend upon programmers overseas that maybe a language barrier, there may be a barrier of space and time, and then you find your software being exploited. Well, maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not advocating doing software exploits, of course. What I am advocating is for companies to take responsibility for quality of their software. And if the quality isn't there, obviously they need, more programming talent and better programming talent. Not that I'm the best programmer in the world, but there are many of us, and we're good. So, we do good work. Programmers pretty much are responsible for, virtually every aspect of your life. You make sure that when you're sleeping, things don't go wrong. The plane doesn't crash into your house, or, the assembly line at some factory doesn't malfunction and, get salmonella in your food. Programmers make sure that your ABS system works programmers at a company called Bosch make sure that when you get into slippery weather, your car does the right thing and you're safe. And one thing about programmers, being a programmer, it's can be big responsibilities. I've had jobs where I've had responsibilities 24 hours, 7 days a week. And if the software wasn't working at 4 a.m., I had to wake up and fix it. And that's just the way it is. But I definitely appreciate people working at fast food because that is a job that everyone depends on. When you go to a fast food restaurant, you need to eat. And without that food, you're pretty much, what are you going to do? But, yeah, programming can be life and death. And that's why when schools teach things that are, useless, that's, not the best. So maybe what I'm advocating is that more classes like software engineering that are more geared toward real things. And maybe things are getting better with the internet, in the internet age. Universities might be learning, how to change their curriculums. I think greed is something we always have to battle in life. Somebody can make a quick buck this week and basically punish himself next week. Boy, that's really beautiful. Totally can't see anything on there, so I might just have to set this aside. And this didn't print that one properly. This one says 25. Let's see if we can figure that out. 25. Yep. 25. Is that 25 picofarad? Yeah, just to give you an idea of what a farad is. A farad is pretty much a useless, measurement. And you can buy farad capacitors. They're kind of a novelty, but in circuits, capacitance is measured in picofarads, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny number, and also microfarads and nanofarads and things like that. Just one of those weird things. Sometimes the units don't make much sense. Unit calories we use for food actually is kilocalories. So whenever you see calories on the label of a food product, they're actually telling you kilocalories, so they don't even say it. That's just sort of implicit. But farads are much, much worse. 10 to the negative 12 is a picofarad. And it'd be very nice if we had units that were basically, that made sense for the everyday experience. Like we have Celsius and Fahrenheit both are great units. They're both excellent because small numbers represent the common everyday experience. And that's really what it's all about when you measure something. You want your units to be, to make sense. A second makes sense. But when you get down to, electronics, you often have picoseconds and even femtoseconds you have to be concerned with. So for electrical engineers, the second isn't a very good unit, really. It's just way too big. Alright, this one looks like a 103. The labels on these are so tiny. So as you can see, I'm soldering one side and then pushing it down and then soldering again. I have a tool to hold the circuit in place, but it's too cumbersome for me to use. Ultimately, I haven't really figured out the way to use it efficiently, so I'm just basically doing my soldering on a very slippery kitchen table, which is not ideal, obviously. So, but as time progresses, I will have my apartment set up the way I want it to be set up. So as a bachelor, you know, you have little motivation to have a perfect everything. Just your life's sort of ad hoc. Things change at will. So I'm going to keep using this little bit of solder as long as I can, just to be efficient. Alright, we have a 104. Right there. Nope. That would have been a mistake. Okay, we have a pretty stretched out 104. I'm going to set that aside. This is that 62. Let's see where that might go. I think I said that earlier. I don't see where that goes, so I'll set that aside here. This is a something 21, 721 maybe, 221. There. Periodically I'm glancing at my camera to see if it overheated. It looks like loaded internet apps sending data across my network were the cause of the phone overheating. I don't know if some app was trying to back up my video or send information about my video across the internet. Who knows? Something was going on. Something that was useless to me. Yep, I have to work on my dwell time a bit. When you hold your soldering iron on the component too long, you can damage it. I'm trying my best here. As I said before, I use 400 degrees C. Probably is too high, but it seems to work for me. And Celsius is just a number for me, you know. If you have a microwave that has a setting from 1 to 14, you just pick a number that works. And same thing with Celsius. 400 degrees Celsius seems about right. I haven't even looked at what that is in Fahrenheit. So this looks like a 332. Americans are beginning to use the metric system. We definitely use it in some ways. We have a ridiculously large American-sized bottle of pop called a 2-liter. It's extremely common to buy 2 liters of soda and then drink that amount of soda in one day. So if you're a European viewer, you'd be shocked by that, possibly. But it's a land of plenty, and unfortunately it can be the land of obesity. Human bodies only recently faced the situation of too much. Our bodies are I think we all know by now our bodies are meant to consume every last piece of nutrition that's thrown our way. It's just the way we've evolved survival instinct. So, okay. This one is, looks like a 331 again. Or is that 332? 332. When you're doing these electronics work, it helps to have a very, very bright light. I have a nice little multiple LED light I got at Banggood for I think $1, and it serves the purpose. I have it propped up on my kitchen table, balanced by condiments. I do have a desk that has yet to be set up for doing electronics, but for now this works. There may be a better way to display this capacitor, ceramic disc capacitor, but I'm going to go with the way that I did it for now. The thing I don't like about this iron is that the top of it gets loose, but El Cheapo Chinese stuff lacks attention to detail sometimes, but that's just getting better and better. I think the Chinese are at a stage right now similar to how the Japanese stuff was in maybe the 70s or the late 70s to early 80s, just when it was becoming excellent. And Chinese made goods are just on the cusp of becoming just that high quality goods from the Far East. I think part of it is the manufacturing wages are going up, and that's great for people who work in China. They're able to make enough money to pay for their families, and that's all you really want. Factory job is a very hard job. You want to be able to make enough money to pay for things in life that you want. And I don't mind buying a high quality item from China. In fact, I have some very unique alarm clock. I've never seen anything like it in the United States. Definitely buy American when you can. But I feel like in a globalized world we should focus on what we're the best at. If you can do a service better than the next person, buy your raw materials for a cheaper price, but just provide it that much better of a service. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some of these solder joints will have to be redone, but alright, well, the phone still hasn't overheated yet, so I'm going to keep recording. Alright, 104. It's going to have to go right there. It's a very interesting layout. Not sure why they do it this way. Oh, okay. They needed to put a capacitor across a processor. 2 pins on a processor. So they did it this way. A little weird. And I'm going to put it in that way. That works. I think this is the way they had in mind. I find a lot of my favorite video producers on YouTube are from the British Isles. So there's something very pleasant about um, British people and documentaries. Sort of a person with a British accent that's to an American, it's sort of ingrained in our consciousness that that type of voice is authoritative. I think it's a legacy of 1700s colonialism, honestly. But you hear somebody with a British accent, informing you about something, and you think, that person sounds like a college professor. He must know exactly what he's talking about. His voice sounds, authoritative. It sounds funny, but I could be completely off base. And to say that there's a British accent is I'm sure humorous to people who know that there are many different dialects in a very large country and diverse country. But I really do enjoy watching the many British people from the British Isles producing YouTube content. Very enjoyable. BigClive.com is one of my favorites. He sort of inspired me to do this type of thing. I will improve my production quality. I will raise the volume of my voice. I know it sometimes fades out. I need to buy a microphone, but currently I'm between jobs, so when I get my my job nailed down, hopefully very soon, and maybe get a real camera and not a phone that overheats. Just learning right now, and one of the requirements is that my video editing tool has to be 100% Linux. I refuse to use Windows for anything, even if it's so much easier. I'm a Linux developer, and if I can't find a free solution, then I just use nothing or write it myself. But I'm not really to the stage that I'm going to write video editing software. Although if I come across some video editing software that's free, then I might contribute. First thing I contribute usually to a free software package is reporting bugs. And then if my bug isn't addressed after quite a long time usually, then I try to fix it myself. And then every once in a rare while, I actually start to do some significant contributions to a package, which is fun. Really is fun to contribute to a free software project. I wish I could do it more often. Okay. Alright, we have a 10 microfarad. We also have an 82. That one? I think so. 82 picofarads. And there was one where the label was rubbed off, so that's going to be fun. And in theory, if they gave me no extras, then I should know exactly where it goes. Hopefully that's the case. Alright, we're at about 35 minutes right now. Hopefully I'll wrap it up in the next 10 minutes. I'm going to do a couple more components here and then start to plan for a part 3. Okay. I have an anonymous capacitor. I have that thing there. Yeah, this is a 7642 transistor, so let's put in a transistor tester for fun. Just for fun. Okay, let me make sure it's on camera. This should be a BJT, which is some type of transistor. Oh, nope. Says it's unknown. Let's try again. Nope, just doesn't know this one. I will remember that it was unknown, so it could actually have been damaged, but to me that seems unlikely that it's damaged. Okay. But I'll remember that. If there's a problem with the board, I will replace it with another one. I should have that transistor. I got an assortment of transistors I ordered from China. That was more transistors than I'll ever need in my entire life, I think. But I knew I might need them. I'm not buying the most expensive components, just the cheap things to learn on. Okay. Let's install the other two electrolytic capacitors, 10 microfarad. I'm not really hung up on the way that words are pronounced. If I ever make a post about it on YouTube, it's only in jest. There's no one true way to say any word in English. All ways are correct. Although I think that American English spellings, which aren't something that my generation came up with, these are in many cases over 100 years old, are actually better in many cases. We've done some simplification to spellings. Not many, just a few here and there. So this doesn't yeah, actually the hole is wrong. It doesn't go flush, unfortunately. Wish it did. They messed up the pitch, I think they call it. So I'm a different type of engineer from somebody who does electronics, but YouTube sort of unleashed the interest. Took me probably about 1,000 videos, watching 1,000 videos before I actually started doing these electronics myself. I just didn't have a lot of confidence, but I've acquired it, I think. A lot of confidence, I think, is realizing that you're going to make mistakes. And I think that makes for better YouTube videos when things go bang, as they say. Yeah, I know I have my own unique Midwestern dialect. I try to lose it, but it's impossible. Something that never goes away. Whenever I encounter somebody from Michigan, I know that they're from Michigan. You just never lose it. Not quite a Chicago accent, not quite an East Coast accent. It's something unique unto itself. I'm sure linguists have names for accent. I'm sure there's a specific name for every regional dialect in the United States. Okay. That's nice and flat. Okay, now where in the world does this little thing go? Just unlabeled ceramic. Must be a 5 picofarad capacitor. Certainly is small. Okay. About to wrap up part 2 here. Alright, that's all the capacitors, as they would say in Great Britain, sorted. Or in the United States we would say finished. Let's see if I can do anything else real quickly here before I end the video. I'll do this little switch I was eyeing. That switches from FM to AM. Alright. I was pretty amazed when I recalled that this kit was only cheaper than $7. You never really know with these kits, or really anything Nordic from China until you get it, how good it is. But this one is fine, no problems whatsoever. This Payan Sonic, or Payan. We've dropped AE from the English language in the United States, but they still use AE in England, so I'm sure one of my English viewers would have a better pronunciation than me. We don't use AE and OE anymore. Got rid of that, I don't know, 100 years ago maybe. Yeah, we hate accent marks in the United States. Occasionally we use an accent mark with naive, but that's falling out of fashion. Naive is just spelled like knave, which actually is worse, because the accent mark is useful. Fiancé is the same way. Americans don't use the accent mark anymore, although it's a French word and the accent mark actually helps. But we don't like them. American English has no room for accent marks, no room for anything that's the standard 26 letters. Alright, I'm going to wrap it up, and I'll see you guys in part 3.